Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. 2 p.m. here in Costa Rica. 2 o'clock on the dot. And I am not coming to you from Fruits in Rythmia today. I am coming to you live from Playa Guiones, which is on the Nicoya Peninsula here in sunny Costa Rica. And I'm using these earphones today to come to you because I had a bit of an incident last week in a river. As we do here sometimes in Costa Rica. I had to drive my ATV, my quad, through some rivers sometimes, and I happened to fall off the bridge that I was driving over, the little tiny motorcycle bridge, and had a bit of an accident. My laptop had a half drowning. So currently my external microphone's not working, so I'm talking to you through these today. And I think the audio is going to be a little bit better. So please, anyone that's tuned in right now, can you just shoot me a little note in the comments to tell me if the audio is okay, if you're hearing it okay? Because I'd love to know and just make sure. I did some tests and everything seemed okay. But I'm coming to you live from Playa Guiones. This is a town here in Costa Rica where I've lived. I lived for about 3.5 years. My first stint here in Costa Rica, this is where I lived. And I'm here for the weekend, and I figured this would be a prime time for me to talk a little bit about the blue zones of the world. This is something I talk about with a lot of my clients quite often, and I bring up at Rythmia. And a lot of people still hadn't heard about what the blue zones were. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that and then touch on the food aspect, obviously, because that's the most important part for me. Let's see. Hi. Okay, the sound sounds good. Hi, Meg. Audio fab. Thank you. Okay, so hi, Jules. Hi, Marina. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Marina. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Linda. Super cool. This is like the first time that I'm actually in front of my laptop so I can see who's here, and I'm going to do my best to answer any questions as they come up. As we talk about this, and I'm not going to keep it very long because I'm not doing a cooking demo. So I'm sorry if you tuned in looking for a cooking demo. I'm not doing one of those today. I'm just going to do this little talk, and then next week I'll be back in the kitchen at Rythmia doing a cooking demonstration. But for today, like I said, I'm talking about the blue zones. And the reason I found out about this years ago when I was still working in the television industry, we did a few interviews on the TV show I was working on discussing the blue zones. And I have since read many of Dan Buettner's books. He is a fellow that along with National Geographic magazine, they've been researching. It's kind of been an anthropological concept, the whole idea of the blue zones. And the idea is that there are certain five areas of the world that have the highest proportion of people living to be 90 to 100 years old, or centenarians, I believe, or centenarians is what we call them. And these are people that live to be 100. And we're not talking about people that live to be 100 that are, bedridden or really unhealthy or, have a lot of health issues. We're talking about people that are like 90, 100 years old that are still out working in their fields and cooking dinner for their families and living like a super high vibrational, vital lifestyle. So it just so happens that in the Nicoya Peninsula here in Costa Rica, and part of the Guanacaste where us at Rythmia are located, is one of these zones. There are 5 of them, as I mentioned, and they are in Sardinia, Italy, which is one of them, Okinawa, Japan, Loma Linda, California. I always say that one wrong. I do have some notes in front of me because I always say a few of these things wrong. Ikari, Greece, and here in the Nicoya Peninsula. So we're really quite blessed at Rythmia to be so in this beautiful, beautiful space. And there's got to be, as far as I'm concerned, and why I'm sharing this with you today, is there's got to be lessons from how the locals are living here that we can all start to adopt and bring into our lifestyle so that we can potentially live a little bit longer and more vital, glowing, happy, joyful, peaceful, productive, purposeful lives. So Marina McKenzie shares that she saw a great documentary on this. So I'm sure if you Google blue zones, you're going to come up with, there's going to be so much information out there. And like I said, Dan Buettner has written a ton of books. Him and I have been in contact, and he was actually in Costa Rica not too long ago, and him and I were planning to get together for coffee, and it didn't pan out, but I'm hoping that will happen again soon. Dan, if you hear this, if you see this, let's have that coffee. Anytime you're in Costa Rica, call me. Have your people call my people. I'm my people. I have no people, but have him call me. Okay, so super exciting. The most important part of this is my dear friend Morgan, who's going to sit down, Morgan, so we can see more of you. This is my dear friend Morgan, and we are here live at Jasmine's Kitchen, which is like my most favorite restaurant in all of Playa Guiones.
Yeah, it is, girl.
This is the one that I'm recommending anyone that comes to this town. You got to come here, and it's primarily plant-based. Tell us a little bit more about Jasmine's Kitchen.
Organic, plant-based. We make all our milks in-house. We make everything here. It's all homemade. Nothing comes out of a box.
Mm-hmm.
So we work really hard for giving good food to the area.
And that's a Blue Zone secret right there, food from scratch and local organic food. And I'm just going to show you this, and then we're going to talk about the ingredients shortly. But this, come on.
Straight from the farm.
This is Sunday afternoon brunching, and we're going to talk about all the ingredients. But look at you can just see the health and vitality on this plate, the color. It's so, so beautiful. What is this that we have here?
This is Hippie Pinto, Costa Rican Gallo Pinto, the typical rice and beans, but with all farm fresh veggies cooked into it.
Yes. And all, the yellow, you can see that there's obviously turmeric, or in Spanish we call it curcuma. That's in there, and we all know how the anti-inflammatory benefits of that. And we're going to talk about these ingredients at length very, very soon. So I'm super, super stoked about this.
Buen provecho.
Mwah, gracias, mi amor. So I'm super stoked about this, but I'm going to get over some more of these details before I get into the food portion of the program. Chef Power, says Sam. Yeah, right on. So another quick side note, this restaurant I'm sitting at is called Jasmine's Kitchen. My dear friend Jasmine is the chef and the owner of the place. She's in the kitchen right now. And she's incredible, and she's been cooking here in Costa Rica for like 15 years, and this place is just a great mecca for the health-minded individuals that are coming down here. And I'm super excited because I didn't even need to ask them to make anything special for this segment. This is something that's on their menu all the time, every day for breakfast, and everything else that they have on the menu is super in alignment with what I'm talking about today. So it made sense to be doing my live from here. So I've already talked about what the 5 blue zones are, and I'm going to reiterate again that the concept is that these are communities where the highest percentage of 90 to 100-year-olds live. And it's not just that they live long, it's that they have, a positive outlook and a really, it's their lifestyle that really helps them to live this length of time. There's been certain scientific studies that say like 25% of our health comes from our genes, and the other 75% is lifestyle based. So that's been a big part of this study, is looking at why are these 5 regions, why do they have these people living so long, and what are the common elements that we can all adopt. So I'm going to talk specifically right now about some of the Costa Rican elements, and I'm going to actually just read from the book here because they've just dumbed it down in such a really beautiful way. So the Costa Ricans' longevity secrets are having a plan de vida, which plan de vida, like a purpose. It's having a purpose in life. And I think that, we all know that we want to have a reason to wake up in the morning. And I think a lot of the reason that a lot of our guests come to Rythmia is for that reason as well, is maybe you're starting, when you feel really stuck in your life, you start asking yourself the question, what can I do to fire me up? I know that's where I was at for a long time with my career in television. It was like, I didn't feel like I was contributing at all. So it took a lot of time and meditation for me to realize that I wanted to move into my passions, which was food and yoga. And that's how I got to where I am today. But that's another big commonality of these Nicoyans that are living long, is they have a reason to wake up in the morning. It could be something as simple as getting up to feed their family, because that's another big thing here in Nicoya. It is keep your focus on family. You'll see a lot of the Nicoyans, they have multi-generational homes where it's, grandma living with her children, living with her children, living with her children. And they all take care of and love each other and support each other. And it's just a beautiful family dynamic. And I think that's something that's really been lost in North American society. Obviously, there's the divorce, rates obviously super high right now in North America, but not even that. It's just the idea of remaining close, in close proximity, but I think more so the supporting of the family. So the next thing is the drinking hard water. And I've had some people questioning about water here in Costa Rica, and I have to say that this is in most of Central America. I'd say that we have probably the best water system, and I've been drinking the water everywhere in this country since I moved here. And one of the things that they found during the study, the scientific study with National Geographic, is that there's a high calcium content in the water here, and that combined with the high levels of vitamin D that we get obviously from the sun here has helped to create more longevity in people's health and wellness via less fatal bone breaks and injuries through falls, because everyone's got quite strong bones. So that's one of the other things on the list. Maintaining social networks is very similar to keeping connection with family, but there's here in Costa Rica almost every weekend and there's always a fiesta happening where it's like bull riding and horses and cowboys doing amazing beautiful things, and there's music and dancing and food, and there's all like fiestas, and maintaining social networks. So there's something to do and go out and be with community and enjoy life. Dancing is super, it's a super big part. I have a lot of the people that work with me in the kitchen at Rythmia that, their passion is going out and dancing salsa or bachata, and it's like they're not going out and drinking and doing it, they're just going out for the dance, which is super, super important, and it's the social aspect as well. Eating a light dinner is also something that's on the list. There are, quite often a lot of the local Nicoyans are working in the farms all day or out, catching their own fish and things like that. So they actually have bigger breakfasts and lunches and then lighter dinners. And that's something else that a lot of studies have shown that calorie restriction, which I don't like to talk about because of, my eating disorder, and I don't like to encourage restriction in any capacity, but eating fewer calories in some studies has said to help elongate lives. But that's, that's something you can research on your own if you really want to look into it. And then getting the sun, vitamin D, vitamin sun, we already talked about that, and embracing a common history, which I think what it says here, and I'm going to read it. Modern Nicoyans' roots to the indigenous Corotega, which are the indigenous folks here in the Nicoya Peninsula, and their traditions have enabled them to remain relatively free of stress. Their traditional diet of fortified corn and beans may be the best nutritional combination for longevity in the world that the world has ever known. So I'm going to talk to 2 points of that. We're going to talk about the corn tortillas in a moment, but I'm going to talk about stress, because stress is also something super, super huge and unhealthy. A big, what's the word that I'm trying to use? Like the attitude. Kind of the attitude here in Costa Rica is pura vida. This is a phrase that you hear often. My staff, you'll hear them saying it to people all the time. It translates directly to pure life, but it's a phrase that's used. Someone could say, "How are you doing today?" Pura vida. How is everything going with your work? Pura vida. You drop a bowl on the floor and it's smashed. Pura vida. And it's kind of just the idea like pure life, chill. It's all good. Like tranquilo, which is like chill. It's all good. And that's kind of an attitude here in all aspects of life. It's like, don't get stressed out about things. Just keep it chill. Keep it pura vida. So I think for me, I know that since I've moved here, it's really shifted my anxiety levels, into neutral, living in a big city and being on the constant go and expecting things done yesterday and instant, needing to be on instant response with my cell phone and all of that stuff. That caused me a lot of stress and anxiety. But now living here, everything is a lot slower and a lot more pura vida. So I know for myself personally, and I'm sure for many other people, if they are adopting that kind of philosophy, it would be super helpful. So let's see, living longer and how about mental clarity? Well, the study says that the people that are qualified in this blue zone as centenarians, people living, up to 90 and 100, they are quick, like still fully functioning mentally. They're not, there's like dementia and things like that are not part of this, this list of centenarians. I think I read just recently that in August of this year, there were 42 of these people living over that were still living in Nicoya region at 100 years old, and these people are still like able to fully have conversations, be interviewed, and they're not. It's not like they are mentally checked out in any way. Like these are people living vital, rich lives, like probably still going out to these dance parties, maybe not dancing, but being out there and being social, and still making their own corn tortillas for breakfast. I know that's, in the reading and the study that I've done, a lot of the women that are living to be that age, they're still cooking for their families because that's their sense of purpose in the morning. So I'm going to talk a bit more about the food side of things, because I think that's super important. But first, I just want to get in a couple of details about Nicoya, because of one of the reasons that they think that this particular area of Costa Rica is a big part of this sanitary and blue zone is because it has been rather isolated. I will tell you where I am right now, this town, there's no paved roads. It's all gravel, and you've got to go at least an hour and 20 minutes from each direction to get here. There's 2 ways in, and they're both gravel roads that, you have to drive through rivers, and it's really quite isolated and off the beaten track. So for many years, they think, not me, I didn't do the study, but the idea is that because this was such an isolated area, people were able to stay with old traditions instead of adopting in a lot of the newer things like processed foods and different lifestyle choices that maybe were a bit more detrimental to health. In one of the books, in one of the articles that I did read, there was a 90-year-old man in Nicoya who had never tried Coca-Cola until he was 90 years old. So that in itself is a testament to the lifestyle. Turn up my phone. Turn up your phone happened to me too. I'm not sure what that means. Can you guys hear me? Can someone just give me a thumbs up if you're hearing me okay? Hello, Leslie from Detroit. Hello from Finland. Elise is here watching us live from Finland. How cool is that? Super, super cool. But if someone can just type in if the audio is still okay or not, that would be super rad. I'm hoping that maybe this is hitting my earring. Check. So let's talk about the food for a minute here real quick. And I've made a bit of a list of different foods, and I'm just going to touch on a few. Papaya. Who doesn't love some good old papaya? So this is a fruit that we super love. super high in vitamin A, B, C, different enzymes. It's actually high in an enzyme that's quite anti-inflammatory. And as I think I've talked in many of my other videos, anti-inflammatory foods, super important. Sounds great. Sound says audio's great. Yes, we hear you. Beautiful. Okay. Thank you, Jennifer, Ann, Stephen, and Don. So papaya, honestly, I never really liked papaya until I came to Costa Rica. I always thought it tasted quite soapy, but I never had a properly ripe one when I was living in Canada, and now I absolutely love them. And how beautiful is that? Mother Nature's art, that star in there. And a lot of people don't realize that you can eat the seeds. At Rythmia, I actually have a papaya seed dressing on the menu that we put into rotation. The seeds are actually super good for you as well. So don't toss those bad boys. Throw them in your smoothie. Throw them in the salad dressing. I'll post that recipe in the comments afterwards. So papaya is super great. Anti-inflammatory food. Inflammation leads to dis-ease in the body, which then leads to disease. So anything that's anti-inflammatory, we want to have more of that. Another mainstay in the Nicoyan diet. And if you watched I did a Costa Rican food video a few weeks back. I talked about maybe some of these similar ingredients, but these are more specific to the Blue Zone now. Bananas. These are organic, beautiful bananas. Not like what you would buy in a grocery store in North America or Europe. Obviously they're not very pretty, but these are absolutely delicious. This is when I like to eat my bananas, when they're nice and spotty like this. And these are, just small little organic beauties that grow like weeds here, these bananas, as do papayas. They grow like weeds here. It's like gold. But those are bananas. And then also I've got here on my plate plantains, or plátanos is what we call them in Spanish, and that's these guys here. And I think I talked about these in that video as well. They often, you can get green plantains or more mature sweet plantains. It's the same plantain, it's just the green ones are underripe, and they're used in different capacities in the kitchen. These ones are the mature ones that have just been pan sauteed in some coconut oil. So the next thing on my list is squash. So what I've got here in my side dish here is chayote, which I think I talked about on the video as well, and that's a squash, super high in different antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. So squash is one of the foods that's listed in the Nicoyan Blue Zone diet, as well as rice and beans. So this is, it's not your typical gallo pinto, which I think I maybe talked about in that video the last time, but this is, I actually got my inspiration from my hippie pinto that I put on the menu at Rythmia from Jasmine's Kitchen here. And this is her version. It's brown rice. Typically it's made with white rice, but we've up-leveled it here health-wise with a bit more fiber. With the brown rice. Black beans, which is like a daily staple here in Costa Rica, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We use them in breakfast for gallo pinto. Lunch, quite often, it will be like a casado, which casado translates to like the perfect marriage, and that is the typical plate of, typically it's black beans and a bit of like cooked in its own sauce. Usually some rice, maybe some plantain, some sort of protein, sometimes fish or chicken or beef or pork. And tortillas, and then usually a little bit of a salad. And the salad is typically a cabbage-based salad. Here we've got this little, it looks like a pineapple cabbage pico de gallo type of thing here, so I'm going to have that with it as well. But the brown rice and the beans on the Nicoyan Blue Zone diet, perfect, great source of vegetarian protein. That's one of the other commonalities in a lot of these Blue Zones. It's a primarily plant-based diet. They found to be, to run pretty across the course of across the table with all 5 blue zones. So this is my vegetarian plate, lots of protein from the black beans. And then the other ingredient is tortilla. Now these are handmade tortillas, and in a lot of Costa Rican families and homes, they still make their tortillas homemade by hand every day. And there's a process they do, like traditional, not a lot of modern families are doing it, but the traditional families take the corn, and before they grind it, they soak it in like lime, and then they grind it up. And what that does is it releases niacin, and the niacin helps with the body's absorption of certain things like iron and calcium and various other health benefits. So, this is very different than a corn tortilla that you would buy in a bag at the grocery store. These are made by hand, and that's how we make our tortillas at Rythmia all the time. Like we have the corn mass, so we add our water and we form them by hand, and then we just dry cook them in a cast iron skillet. And that's super traditional here. Every Costa Rican family that I have visited, they had the opportunity to dine with in their home. We always have tortillas, and they're probably my favorite things in the world. And the other theme with the foods here in the Blue Zone for Nicoya is that most of the foods, like these are all things that can grow here. They can be grown here and processed here and made fresh daily. And I think that's a huge lesson for all of us. I know there was a big phase for a while with the 100-mile diet and things like that. I think just the idea that, eating what we can that's local, choosing local food over organic sometimes for me, I feel is more important. I'd rather eat some local fresh grown kale from like a hydroponic, not certified organic farm than, you know, spending the money to have organic kale shipped in, you know, from 12 hours away that's been sitting in a cold truck for 3 days. You know, it's about balance. And that's, you know, that's why the diet here is super great. They just use what they have and use what's in season and use what's local and make these beautiful meals. Now let's see if there's anything else I missed here that I wanted to touch on. Oh, there's one little side note that I thought was kind of funny that I read in my studies. So in 2015, when they were doing, I think it was 2015, when they were in Costa Rica doing one of the last research studies here on the Nicoya Peninsula, there was one of the people from the University of Costa Rica. What is his name? I need to check it real quick. His name was Luis Rosero Bixby. They asked him, you know, okay, so they talked about a bunch of different reasons why people in the Nicoya Peninsula live to be a lot longer. And the one thing he said, well, you know, here in the Nicoya region, we tend to have very liberal thoughts on sex. And in long story short, he kind of explained that a lot of the people living to be 100, men, especially in this region, tended to have other partners, like, you know, 90-year-old men with a girlfriend and a wife. So I thought that was kind of a funny thing. And not that I'm giving any permission out there for anyone to go off and have an affair because they're going to live longer, but I think it'd be a funny joke to share. Don't do it, but joke about it. Maybe, oh, you know, I heard that if I go and have a girlfriend on the side, I'm going to live to be 100. Megan said so. No, don't do that. Don't do that. But I thought that would be super. It's a fun, little fun thing to share. It's in the book. You don't believe me. It's in the book. It's in this book here. So I think that's all I really want to share with you guys today, because I'm going to eat my brunch, my gallo pinto, before it's too cold. Not that it's going to be very cold, because it's 30 degrees here, 30 degrees Celsius, which is like, what, like 8 or something like that in Fahrenheit. But like I said, I'm going to post in the comments here the recipe for my papaya seed dressing, and I'm going to post my gallo pinto recipes. I'm going to post my gallo pinto one and my version of the hippie pinto in the comments so that you guys can go home and make those yourselves, and any of the other recipes that I feel might be pertinent as far as the Blue Zone. And I'm super happy that you're in today. Look at that. I kept it to 22 minutes. I'm trying to keep them to 25 a week. And if there's any question you have, send it along. If there's anything you might like to see in the coming weeks as far as content here on Rythmia's Facebook page from me, send me a message about that as well in the comments, because I'm working on my content for December right now. And I would love to know what you guys might want to see as far as recipes or just any food philosophy. You know, maybe you want me to touch on any sort of certain diets that you might have questions about. And just I can share my opinion and thoughts on them, and we'll maybe bring in some special guests to talk about it. But yes, I want to just say shout out to my last few people here. Rhonda is saying she wants to come to Rythmia in February. That would be great, Rhonda. We'd love to see you. And I'll see you guys later. So have yourself a beautiful Sunday fun day wherever you are. Stay warm, stay dry, stay happy, stay beautiful, and I will see you guys next week.